Hey guys, I'm going to post a video in the description area. It's a prophecy conference where Chuck Missler is speaking, and he's talking about the Gog and Magog war. And I think it's just very interesting as he's describing in 2013, at least that is when it was posted. Not sure if it may have even been 12 or 11 that he was at the conference, but it was posted in 13. And he is talking about the Gog and Magog war, and he's saying things like, at the time of this conference, Saudi Arabia is not aligned with Israel, but will be. And he's saying that Turkey is an ally of Israel, but that will change at the time of the Gog and Magog war, that Turkey will become an enemy of Israel. And it's just amazing how that has all taken place just in recent years. In recent months more so. But anyway, he talks about also how the top prophecy teachers like Grant Jeffrey and Hal Lindsey, and he's saying that these men differ on how they see the Gog and Magog war as far as the timing is concerned. That he said, there's a group of us that believe it takes place before the 7 years, and there's a group, Hal Lindsey included, that believe that it takes place right before Armageddon, at the end of the 7 years. And so he says he encourages the people at the conference to, get their Bibles and do their own research and formulate their own conclusion. And I think what is just so, and excuse my floating, but I think just what is so so interesting is that that's exactly what I think that we should do, is just formulate, look at it, because I've talked to you many times, you can always wish things and see, whatever you want to see in the clouds, right? Or like my son, can see Christmas coming around every corner every time it snows. He thinks it's going to be Christmas. Whatever you're looking for and hoping for, you can. But, when you start seeing these things come to pass, and that's what I want to make it clear, what the reason we know that it's soon is because these nations are aligned perfectly as far as their allegiances. They're aligned perfectly. But not only that, their armies are already strategically in place. And it's not easy to get these armies. I saw a list of what ISIS and what Iran and what all these, what Russian soldiers make, what all these different soldiers make. They are paid. They're not just volunteers. They are paid. They're on the clock. And there is a time constraint, and a lot of money and a lot of lives have been invested in this. And today I just heard that a Navy destroyer is on its way to Syria right now to address these chemical attacks. And Trump, I believe, is humane. I believe that this has struck a nerve. But more than that, I think he understands on the broader scale that Israel's very existence is on the line right now. And that not only Israel's existence, but the free world. Iran has a eschatology that's very dark. They believe that they have to bring about the end of days, and so that they can bring forth their 12th Imam, world leader, a world leader, not just over the nation of Iran, but over the entire world. He will rule, and he will come forth at a time of nuclear catastrophe, of world war, and they have to bring that about in order to usher him in. If you've never read books by Joel Rosenberg or Mike Evans, these teachers make it very, very clear, because they study the teachings and all the writings of Islam and of Muhammad, and they study Iranian I was trying to think of exactly an example that that Mike Evans said in his last book, but it'll come to me maybe before the end of the video. But anyway, this is not anything to be taken lightly, and I just think that we're waiting on the final shoe to drop, as it were, you know, because the thing about it is Trump knows that he has really one shot. You know, when you are looking at potential threats on so many different fronts, as he is, you know, there's so many different fronts, and they've all got, you remember at the time of the Iraqi war, Saddam Hussein, they were talking about the first Persian Gulf War, he began shooting rockets at Israel because he couldn't really attack us, so he began attacking Israel. Well, right now, all of these forces, they have their weapons and their missiles turned towards Israel. You know, the whole activity going on in Gaza right now is all primarily, I think, a distraction so that Israel will be concentrating their IDF forces into the southern part of Israel, because the attack is going to come, the major attack is going to come from the north. But I think that Trump is, you know, someone said that the lights of the White House had been on all night long. He is really laboring over how he's going to respond to all of this, because the thing is when you respond, you've got to hit it on all fronts. You know, you've got a multi-headed viper, and you're going to have to take it off, you know, take the head off on all fronts, because you can't expose yourself at all. And but the thing about it is, Russia and Iran, Syria, North Korea, they all know it's coming. They all know it's coming. And of course, Iran is controlling Hezbollah, Hamas in Yemen, the Houthi rebels in Yemen, so these groups are located in 3 different areas as well. So you just have a whole lot of different terrorist organizations and countries, nation states, that you're having to deal with at the same exact time, because you know, Saudi Arabia is you know, it's got Mecca and Medina. That is why that they are being so targeted right now. And then Israel is guilty of having Jerusalem. And also the fact that Jesus himself is supposed to return there as the Prince of Peace and rule and reign there. And that Satan is trying to stop this from taking place, just like he tried to stop, you know, Jesus from coming the first time, causing Pharaoh to kill the baby boys and causing King Herod to kill all the children under 2, the little boys under 2. So this is just another attempt to try to stop Jesus from actually coming the second time, just as Satan tried to stop him from coming the first time. And so anyway, it's all so satanic. And but there's no way at all that it's going to, you know, I can't imagine with these, like I say, these soldiers all being on the clock as they are, all situated already in these strategic positions. Can't imagine for a second how it can just be put on pause. I think the Gog and Magog war is here, and it is now. And whether there's 7 years in front of us or the 7 years are behind us, and that's the 2 viewpoints according to Chuck Missler. I think that it's likely behind us, because, you know, one thing I liked about Renee M. is that she really documented what she was saying. You know, when she talked about the Church of Nativity being a strong fortress, and the things that she said just made such sense to me. And it, you know, she's making these videos right at the time where, you know, my sister had already looked at Daniel and called me up in 2012 and told me, you know, that he won the Nobel Peace Prize, and 1,260 days later he should be in Jerusalem if he is the guy, you know. And I'm like, well, how could, you know, what are the chances? What are the chances? And there's no temple yet. But then he goes, and that day we're watching the news to see what on earth he does, and he ends up going in the Church of the Nativity, you know, with a boss on his wing, you know, the head of the army that shot up the Park Hotel and then hid out in that church back in 2002 and used the Bibles as toilet paper. I mean, so many things. Then he ended up going to Berlin, where the altar of Pergamos was reconstructed. The actual altar was reconstructed there. And he says things like, I don't claim that God speaks exclusively through me. I mean, the things that came out of his mouth that day. So, the fact that 1/4 of the earth, 24.3% Islamic, has been given power to kill by the sword, to do whatever it wishes, wherever it wishes, with no repercussions these last 7 years. And as Paul Begley pointed out today, the last 7 years, massive animal kill-offs. 7 years, isn't that interesting? And we know that the Middle Eastern church has been cared for in the wilderness refugee camps these last few years, and they've been hiding out there. Much of this stuff that's been going on was in the original promised land, in the original promised land. So there is, over 2 billion people living on less than $2 a day. So we know that massive hunger is going on. And, whatever it means, if things are just like a mirage, you see it from a distance, you think you know what it is. But then when you come upon it, you realize it's not that at all. If we don't begin to relook at some of these prophecies through the lenses of modern day events, and continue to look at them through the lenses of 10 and 20 and 50 and 100 years ago perspective, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I think we may miss something that's right under our noses, and we're not going to see him till he comes and realize this is what's going on. But, I'm speechless. I don't even know. My dad, being a preacher, graduated at Louisville, a very, respected seminary, and being around preachers all my life, I'm just not afraid to second guess them. I mean, I know they're human. And so I guess that's where I come in. I'm just not afraid to second guess what other people are so afraid to second guess. But anyway, you guys, this is just stuff to chew on. And I love you all, and I wish you many blessings. If you don't know Jesus, just please read the book of John. Listen to these prophecy teachers I've mentioned. Perry Stone's great, Mike Evans, Joel Rosenberg, Chuck Missler. And I'll leave the Chuck Missler app or link below in my description box. God bless you all.